This story took place a couple of years ago, during a clown epidemic that was happening all across the United States. As many of you guys probably already know, during the year 2016 there was many people dressing up as killer clowns and going around and scaring kids. Some people even took the prank too far and had real machetes, chainsaws, and knives. During this time, I was 16 years old and I really wanted to see a killer clown. I know this might sound crazy, but I didn't believe any of it. I thought this entire epidemic was made up until the day of the fair. It was a warm day for late October when my town decided to host the annual fair. The fair was a huge deal in our town because there's literally nothing to ever do. I swear we live in the most boring town in the entire United States. Anyways, my plan was to go to the fair around 8 p.m. because that was when the sun began to set. Everyone knew the fair is always better at night. So I called my friends, whom I'll call Steve and Jaden for privacy reasons. I told them the plan and they agreed to go. Once all of us got out of school, we hung around my house for a couple of hours and eventually started on the walk. The fair is located 10 minutes from my house, so the walk wasn't a big deal. Once we all arrived at the fair, we made our way to the tickets booth to buy our ride pass. My plan was to go on as many rides as possible, but the one thing I really wanted to do was the new location they implemented this year, the Clown Haunted House. Since Halloween was right around the corner, our town decided it was a good idea to include a haunted house at the fair. Of course, some parents disagreed with the clown house because of the clown epidemic, but we didn't care since our excitement was over the roof. The first ride my friends and I went on was the Ferris wheel. That's because we wanted to take pictures of the entire park from the top. Once we reached the top of the Ferris wheel, it stopped for a couple of seconds. We were able to see the entire park. "Look at the clown haunted house," Jaden said. "It looks so cool," Steve replied. I then asked, "Are y'all down to just go straight there as soon as we get off the Ferris wheel?" Both Jaden and Steve agreed to go straight there. Standing in front of the house really gave me the chills. There was a huge clown face poster. Also, there was 2 people dressed up as clowns standing outside waiting to scan the tickets or ride pass. But the creepiest part was the upstairs window in the house. There was a killer clown staring directly at me, not moving. I thought this was a little odd because your job is to scare people in the house, so why was he looking at me? Nonetheless, I led the way to get our tickets scanned. The 2 clowns at the front gestured for us to enter. They also told us if we get too scared to clap our hands. That would let the workers dressed up as clowns know to stop and to escort us out. As I entered the house, I could hear the creepy clown music playing faintly throughout the entire house. It gave me the chills. That's exactly when a person dressed up as a clown popped out from behind a box and jump scared us. I continued leading the way. A couple more jump scares later and we reached the 2nd floor. As soon as I rounded the corner, I froze since there was a killer clown blocking the hallway. It was the same one from earlier, staring at me in the window. He was holding a machete. "I thought the clowns aren't allowed to have props," Steve said shakily. "That's what the sign says outside," Jaden replied. Sir? We just need to get through. We're just gonna pass by and be in our way," I said. The killer clown didn't move, but he raised his hand with the machete in the air as if he was going to swing. I clapped my hands, hoping that the clown would realize and stop his act, but nothing happened. He was just staring directly at us. I yelled at my friends to run back down as the clown started chasing us. As soon as we exited the house, we ran straight to the security and told them everything that happened. The security guy took us back to the haunted house and spoke to the manager. We gave him a description of what the clown looked like. That's when the manager's eyes widened. "There's no one working here that's dressed like that." That's when it hit me. That could have been a murderer dressed up as a clown due to the clown epidemic. The security guard shut down the entire house and checked on the entire place. There was no sign of that killer clown anywhere. To this day, I'm still not sure what the clown's intentions were for attacking us. During my childhood, I loved to explore many abandoned locations. Probably the best abandoned spot in our town was a small house. But on this particular night, my friends and I heard of an abandoned amusement park a couple of towns away from us. Our plan was to try and ride bikes there, since we were all 15 around the time. None of us had a car or a driver's license, so we were forced to ride a bike. Also, we wanted to go late at night because it would be easier to sneak into the park without being caught by security. Around any abandoned place, there is always security in order to keep teenagers out. The bike ride only took about 15 minutes, surprisingly. We followed the GPS on my phone, which led us to a small dark path in the woods. We assumed this was the right way, because we were literally in the middle of nowhere. After a couple of minutes of walking through the woods, we came to a clearing and actually saw the amusement park. It was huge. The entire place had probably around 15 rides, massive buildings, and so many more things to explore. Let's play it safe for now. It's a little weird that we haven't seen anyone. Literally not a single person. My friends agreed, and we began walking towards one of the old roller coasters. Obviously the ride wasn't working, but my plan was to climb up on the track all the way up to the top. That's exactly what we did. Once we reached the top, we were probably around 30 feet into the air. "Everyone shut up, there's a guy," my friend James whispered. He pointed right below us by the bowling alley. I could see a man dressed in all black with some sort of mask walking around the amusement park. Luckily he didn't see us, so we stayed real quiet until he went inside one of the buildings. My friends and I quickly began descending from the roller coaster tracks as quick as we could. Once we reached the bottom, we took a quick look inside the bowling alley to see if the man was still there. Since we couldn't see him, we assumed he left. We weren't sure if the guy was a security guard or not, so we decided to keep exploring for a little. As we walked closer to the other side of the park, I started to hear some faint, creepy circus music. I was confused because I thought the place was supposed to be abandoned. Nothing should be working, so why is there music playing? Since we were pretty stupid, we decided to follow the sound and see where it was coming from. As we got closer, we could see the sound was coming from the small building. There was also flickering lights coming from inside. Standing in front of the building, James had the crazy idea to go inside. Before my other friends or I could say anything, he screamed, "Is there anyone in there? We are exploring and we're coming in." "Why would you do that?" I said. I was mad because I knew the whole park pretty much knew we were here because of his scream. But since there was no answer, we all assumed that no one was in there. So James took the lead as we walked into the dark building. Inside, I could see a group of people sitting in a corner around a fire. They were all wearing black clothing. They were all also staring in our direction. One of them was wearing a strange mask, which looked like the guy we saw earlier. I could not explain how fast we ran out of the building, through the entire park and dark woods to our bikes. Once we reached the bikes, we sped away back to our town. To this day, I'm still not sure what those people were doing at that abandoned amusement park. This story took place a couple days ago, at the amusement park my friends and I go to every year. We usually drive down to the shore, and we stay a couple days by the beach. On the beach, there's a huge amusement park, which has many rides and things to do. My friends and I normally like to stay at the amusement park as late as possible. Since it closes at 12 every single night, we stay till 12 every single night. On this particular day, my best friend dared me to go to the psychic so he can predict my future. This was a small area in the park that nobody really went to because it was boring. Since it was a dare, I obviously said yes, as I didn't want to look like a chicken in front of my friends. I started heading towards the psychic stand. I never believed in spiritual stuff or psychic stuff, so I was going to try and mess around with the person for a little. When we approached the psychic stand, we could see an older man sitting down on a chair reading a book. "Well, hello there," he said. "I was wondering if you could predict my future," I asked him. As soon as I said that, my friends started laughing because they wanted to make fun of me. The older man was kind though, and agreed without being bothered by my friends laughing. He gestured for me to follow him to the back area, because that's where he was going to predict my future. I was a little reluctant at first, but ended up following him. My friends stayed outside, so it was just me. The room was barely lit, and there was a chair in the middle. This was starting to look like something out of a horror movie. Nonetheless, I just sat on a chair and waited for whatever was going to happen. The man then pulled out a crystal clear ball that you see in movies and looked inside. I was trying not to laugh because I thought he was going to tell me some random shit. "Something tragic is going to happen to you tonight," he said in a creepy voice. My eyes widened as I stared at the man. "I would be very careful if I were you," he said. At that point, I've had enough. I was now extremely scared and concerned. "Thank you," I said and walked outside. My friends greeted me and asked how it went. "Let's just get out of here," I told them. I didn't want to be anywhere near that psychic place anymore. I was scared. In fact, I was terrified. What was going to happen to me? Am I safe? Those were the thoughts running through my head. After a couple of minutes, my friends tried to calm me down by telling me everything the guy said was fake. This helped a little, and we continued on our way in the amusement park, having fun. Everything was going great again, until we decided to get on a roller coaster. As soon as it was my turn to get on the coaster, the ride malfunctioned and stopped working. The ride operators told us they would check the ride to make sure everything is safe before opening again. 10 minutes later, they reopened the ride, and lots of people were getting on, including myself. Seconds before the ride was about to take off, I remembered what the psychic said earlier, and decided to not ride on the roller coaster. I got off, and somehow convinced everyone to get off the ride. I told the operators to have a test run on the cart before anyone gets back on. When they sent the coaster on its way, the craziest thing happened. The cart ended up malfunctioning again, sending it off track, falling about 10 feet. In that moment, I realized that was a very tragic thing that could have happened to myself and the people on the roller coaster. To this day, I still don't know whether the psychic's warning was a coincidence, or he really did know something tragic was going to happen to me.